Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up.
Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino, that Bambino Rieko here again with another episode of Deep Listens. And today we are trapped in the night. We've been playing a game that is very controversial, very dark, very scary, very violent. We've been playing Night Trap. And I'm joined in this excursion into the uncouth, the untamed, the adult by Pete Busby.
Hey everybody, this game, I'm frightened, I'm titillated, I don't know how to react. It's a lot stewing inside me, but we need to talk about geckos. So, yeah, I know, geckos.
Course,
So
geckos.
this comes from an article of the Royal Society, and the title basically gives it away, but I'll give the title anyway. So it's passively stuck, death does not affect, gecko, one sec, adhesion strength, there we go. So this is all about how geckos, even after dying, will still hold on to a wall for up to 30 minutes because their like finger pads just sort of work that way. They don't have to like use any energy to stick to things. It's a passive effect. So you can see a gecko on a wall and it might have been dead for a half hour by the time you saw it.
So, question.
Sure, absolutely.
Were these scientists killing the geckos? And then seeing how long they were stuck to the wall?
Kind of. Yes.
Oh no.
That's a bummer.
I know. I try to like bury the sad parts of the studies, but there usually are sad parts to the studies.
Hey little guy, just stick on this wall and look away.
I know.
Oh man, I probably don't want to know how they killed the geckos either.
Well, it just says recently euthanized, so presumably they did it kindly. They also invented a machine to like apply pulling forces to the geckos for science.
Wait. So they stuck the geckos? They were already dead when they stuck them on the wall?
Here, I'll read the experiment. So this is just the abstract. Experiments on both live and recently euthanized tokay geckos revealed that death does not affect the dynamic adhesive force. So presumably, if the geckos were recently euthanized and then the experiments were performed on them, they basically just stuck dead geckos to walls.
Okay. You know what? I'm actually more okay with them sticking dead geckos to walls than what I thought was happening. I thought they had a gecko on a wall and then they like crept up behind them with like a silencer.
Just shot in the back
and
of the
put
head.
2 in the back of the head on these geckos and the bodies just kept clinging.
No, just based on the way they describe it, it seems like they euthanized the geckos first.
Okay, I'm weirdly more okay with it if they were like, do you ever have those like sticky hands that you could get at like a prize counter at like a local fun center? There'd always be like 6 tickets. I imagine these dead geckos are basically like the sticky hands.
The whole like study too is like a wonder of scientific euphemism. It's like the first sentence of the discussion section. We found no difference in the adhesive force or the motion of clinging digits before and after death treatments. So instead of just saying like, before and after we murdered the gecko, just say, the death treatments.
Oh, we gave it a treatment. What was the treatment? Death. That second laughter you hear is M. Palladino. Hello.
The things we do for science, much like playing this game,
was also an act of science, very clearly.
Science, yes. Yeah, this was something we had to get off the table, I think, for historical purposes. We'll get to it.
Yeah, you definitely did this to us, so
Yep.
we'll discuss
It wasn't inflicted.
how important it was to play this game. But yeah, this game exists. We've played Night Trap. We can't unplay it, and we will discuss it. But before we discuss Night Trap, let's reach out to our emails and our feedback. You can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We've got our comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. You can also support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. And you can send in feedback through any of those channels. The Patreon will get you access to our Discord, where you can send in feedback that way. And you'll also end up on the Discord report. But before the Discord report, we actually have an email.
Wow.
We have a couple of bits of feedback. First feedback, this comes in from our YouTube channel. And it was I'll just read it. This was on our Chrono Cross podcast, and it said, "Hope you can do a timestamp of when the discussion of the game actually starts next time." First.
That's part of our charm, though, isn't it? I thought we were charming.
I mean, I thought so. First off, rude.
Damn.
Second, my response is this to that suggestion. Life is a game. We are all players. The timestamp is 00. Second bit of feedback, this comes from our Grim Fandango podcast YouTube comments. This comes in from the person's picture is it looks to be a naked woman.
Sure.
And it just
Good
says very happy, heart, smile, kissy face, heart.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's a positive review.
Yeah.
They like what we're doing.
So clearly that was a real human who responded to the actual podcast we posted. Grim Fandango has that effect on people, and our discussion of it in specific brought that about. Thank you, real person, real human person.
Was there a name attached to that, or was it just a string of numbers?
It was a name, but I can read out who. I'm going to dox this bot. Let me see. This person claims to be Jennifer Emerson.
Totally a real name.
And you should really wear... There are clothes that will support the things that you're supporting in your picture. You don't have to use your hands. I feel I should inform people. And we have an email. This comes in on our main email, and this comes in from friend of the show, Chris Zombie Pie Redacted. It's been a while since we got a very long podcast email from ZP, and it starts like this. Glory be to the peons of the Deep Listens podcast. Rude.
Off to a good start.
It has been months since I last graced the main Deep Listens podcast with an email, but now seemed like the appropriate time. First, while most of the talk about Night Trap will be on point, there's one point to this story that should not go forgotten. Mortal Kombat. The game actually played a bigger role in creating the ESRB and sometimes gets forgotten when placed next to the incomparable Night Trap. However, fun story, Midway responded to the congressional hearings a lot differently than Sega. While Sega went full panic mode, pulled Night Trap from stores, and begged Congress that if they were going to recommend a rating board, that it be industry-led rather than led by government overseers, Midway, on the other hand, basically responded to the hearing with a big LOL what? They agreed that they preferred an industry-led ratings board, much like Sega, but when prompted by senators if it would have an impact on the content of their games, they essentially said, nah. Even better, when the ESRB was created, Ed Boon went on the record to say that he was proud Mortal Kombat 2 and 3 got an M for mature rating, and joked that if he could have made the characters spew more rib cages during fatalities, maybe they could have gotten an AO rating. Second, this is the actual question of the email. I want to briefly return to Grim Fandango. I have a problem with Grim Fandango. The issue is I only like about half of Grim Fandango and barely tolerate the other half. And whenever I say this, people who have played the game know exactly what I'm talking about. I really find the chunk before the time skip to be a boring slog, as it exacerbates the clunky inventory management, and the puzzles during the first half are a lot less inspired than the ones in the second. Also, fuck the controls in that game. Every single time I play the game, I experience the same shit where Manny stands directly next to a character. I try to give them something, only to watch Manny follow a circuitous route before presenting them with the item. Anyway, my question is simple. Are there any games that you have played where there's a hard break in the narrative when you start having fun? Is there a game you initially hate and then it makes a hard pivot and you begin to enjoy or appreciate it?
I mean, I don't know. The first thing that comes to my mind is always just Kingdom Hearts.
Mhm.
Anytime you're in the gummy ship, I just, no, like, stop, don't. I'm trying to think of something that's like a full narrative swing, though.
Kingdom Hearts 1 or just any Kingdom Hearts?
Whenever the gummy ship shows up, I don't care what it is. They lost me after the first one, and I never gave them another chance after that.
Damn, 2 and 3. Well, 2 is pretty good.
All right, look, I'm willing to try again.
I'm willing to be hurt again. There are definitely games that have hard swings. There's not usually a game that I dislike for the opening stretch and then like from there on. There are definitely games that start out one genre or one style and then go off the deep end in the later half, like most JRPGs do.
I was gonna say the biggest one we've seen recently is Doki Doki.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
They do a Neon Genesis Evangelion on you.
Have you never played Doki Doki Literature Club?
Oh no, I played it. But I'm just thinking of that midway point at like episode 16 where what's his name, who is behind the whole thing, read a psychology textbook and was like, all right, now it's going to get weird. And so it went from big robots fighting angels to a psychological horror, basically.
Yeah.
That kind of swing. It's uncommon in video games just because mechanically you don't want to design two systems. But it's definitely happened. I'm trying to think if there's any that stand out to me.
I always think Brutal Legends won a lot of the Double Fine games, but Brutal Legend, the first half of that game is an action-adventure game, and then the back, like, two-thirds of it is a RPG, strategy RTS, sorry. It's like an RTS game where you're flying around commanding units and building units. And so the first half of that game is a very straightforward strategy game. The action-adventure game. The second half of that game is almost unrecognizable from the first half. So I think that that's one that really jumps out. I enjoy the back half more, actually. I enjoy the RTS more than the straightforward action game. But I know that that's not necessarily the dominant view. And I think that FF8 might have, of the Final Fantasies, the hardest swing. Like, Disc 1 is a fairly straightforward game, and then at the end of Disc 1, it just becomes bananas from there on out. It's so bananas from there on out that people came up with an entire theory that the main character dies at the end of Disc 1, and everything that happens from the end of Disc 1 on is the slowly blinking neurons in his brain firing till he dies.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, the rest is all the visions of a dying man. So yeah, I think that those are two that jump out to me. Em, do you have any? Or just Evangelion? I think Evangelion, it's not a game, but that's one of the ultimate ones where it's like, I like the first half of this, and then it became very different.
If we want to do a book example, too, Kite Runner is very well known for this. In chapter 4, I think you find out something that changes basically how you see the whole book.
Oh, speaking of books, Hunger Games, that series, that's got a twist after, I think, in the middle of book 2, and then it's completely different after that. I don't know if it's the same in the movies.
I'm not sure. I've only seen the movies.
Yeah.
It's basically the same structure. I've seen the movies and read the books.
Yeah. I can't think of games.
All right. Well, with that out of the way, now it's time, I think, to dip into the Discord report.
The Discord report.
Bam, 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 bam.
This week on the Discord, let's see. There was a whole bunch of stuff. There was
ongoing discussion of the NBA playoffs. That's continued.
Yep.
Pete, how do you feel that the head coach of the 76ers has been fired? Brett Brown's gone.
Just another step on the road to declaring the process a failure. So I support it.
Fair enough.
even beyond that, it was time. I mean, he's had a very long time. I feel for him. Brett Brown did not have an easy job, but I do think we need some fresh blood in there. Unfortunately, we can't get Steve Nash now, though.
That's true. He's taken. We also had some questions about the FFTCG in the Discord, just questions about how cards work and where to get good content, which I recommend the RVA Returners podcast. You can occasionally hear me or see me playing in their weekly locals, if that's something you're into.
We had the Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles came out. It was not very good from what people have said. A lot of long load times. We're probably going to have to play that for the Final Fantasy podcast, I would assume. You guys are still working on Chrono Trigger.
Chrono Cross.
Yes. The
Don't
other
slander
one.
Chrono Trigger like that.
Definitely not Chrono Trigger. Chrono Cross. ZP has been talking about getting into Final Fantasy XIV, asking questions. Has a very bad gaming chair, which is actually more of a lawn chair. What else is in here? There's a whole bunch of stuff that I wanted to talk about, and then, the really egregious thing that we had go down during the last podcast, which was the end of the Chrono Cross podcast. ZP made a offhand comment about Yoshi's Island, which basically was like, Yoshi's Island is a bad game because it's tied to the Mario franchise and it's nothing like Mario. And there was some discourse on the Discord about that, which, if you would like to weigh in on that, you should join the Discord and tell ZP that he's wrong.
Yes.
Is Yoshi Island the one with Baby Mario?
Yes.
Okay, got it. I wasn't sure if there's also an N64 Yoshi game.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the title of now, though.
Yeah.
Yoshi's Story. There we go. I remembered.
Yes. Yeah, it is the one with Baby Mario. And if you don't like games branching out and trying new things under mainline series, you're allowed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I get that it would be a little bit weird if you bought Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island and you got Yoshi's Island. But I like when game series get weird in the main line. I mean, that's why we have an entire Final Fantasy podcast line, is because every single one of those games is wild in a different way. So there was something else on the Discord, I think?
Yeah.
Mario related?
Super Mario Collection is coming out. This is Super Mario 64, Super Mario Sunshine, and Super Mario Galaxy. This is Super Mario 3D All-Stars. It is going to be released on the Switch for what is a very strange limited release. Have you ever heard of anything like this before?
No, not for a digital product that didn't involve someone losing a license or something. Like, I remember MK2, I think, for the Xbox 360 was available for a limited time because the MK2 license just came due and it switched hands. So whoever licensed it for online distribution on the 360 lost that right. So it stopped being available because there was no one to sell it. But not a company going, no, we're going to limited release our own product that's digital.
Yeah, it's very weird. It's going to be like 6 months where you can get these 3 games, and then it's just going to disappear. And it's only digital, I believe. There's no physical copies of this one. And Super Mario Galaxy was a Wii game, which requires Joy-Con motion control in order to actually use. So if you have a Switch Lite, I guess you're shit out of luck. They have not given an answer to, like, how's that going to work? So all around, people are scratching their heads. I'm probably going to pick it up just because I want to play Super Mario Galaxy again. And Super Mario 64 is never a bad thing to have. And also Super Mario Sunshine is there, which ZP says is not good, but has gotten good reviews. So I don't know.
It's pretty good. We played it for an episode.
Did you? Yeah, I haven't played it. I don't think it was in that period of time where I didn't have a gaming system. So I'll give it a go. See what I think.
Sounds good. Yeah, I would play. I still haven't played 64. I've played bits of Mario 64, but never all of it. And I haven't. Same thing with Galaxy. And we fucking played Sunshine for this podcast. So I've played Sunshine. Somehow I played Sunshine and not 64 or Galaxy.
This is a Billy pick, right?
It was. It was the most Billy of picks.
So I take it you didn't enjoy your time with Sunshine?
It's not a good game. That's the
enough.
problem. I enjoyed bits of it. Like there are parts of it that are clever, but it's mostly very finicky.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, check that out. I'm definitely intrigued in playing some of the classic 3D Mario games. So I think it is time now for my obsession of the week. And this week, my obsession is with Cereal Eats from the Serious Eats website. They're a food website. Right now, are either of you familiar with Jamel Bowie?
Yeah,
No.
I think so.
He's a New York Times opinion writer. He's one of their political writers. But he also moonlights as a cereal reviewer.
Good. Yeah, cereal is worth reviewing. It's delicious.
Yes. He only does one review a month, but I just happened across a tweet of his that he was reviewing the Dunkin' cereal. Did either of you know that Dunkin' Donuts has a new cereal?
I did not. Dunkin' Donuts has a cereal. Do you know Sour Patch Kids has a cereal?
Ugh.
I know, right?
I don't want that one, but the Dunkin' Donuts cereal, I watched his review of Dunkin', and he rates it on 0 to 5 spoons is the scale. It's a very rigorous test. First, there's a smell test, see how it smells. Then a dry test to see how the cereal tastes dry. Then a milk test. Then a soak test, which you just let the cereal soak for 10 minutes and see how it holds up.
Sure.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's
It's
a
a real
long
test.
time.
Yeah, I'll get through a couple boxes in 10 minutes, man.
It's a real test. And then the final test is the milk test to see how it tastes. How does the milk take on a nice flavor as you drink it? So I watched the Dunkin' review, and then after about a half hour, I had watched all of his reviews. And I recommend them. They are very funny. They're informative. As a now proud owner of a box of Dunkin' Caramel Macchiato cereal, I take that. There are two choices.
Mm.
It's Caramel Macchiato and Mocha Macchiato, I think.
Do you like it? Is it good?
I do. It's good. It's. I think he describes it best in his video. It's like a coffee Cocoa Puff.
Sure.
Should we do a quick favorite cereal? Mine's
Yes.
Frosted Mini Wheats.
That's a good one.
Same, actually.
Nice. Way to go, Em.
High five.
They're very hearty, the Frosted Mini Wheats. I find.
Mhm. Good
One bowl
fiber.
and good till lunch, according to the
Yep.
box.
Yep. And for me, I guess I think that like the most reliable cereal, the cereal I have the most often in my home is Honey Nut Cheerios.
It's good. It's classic for a reason.
Yeah, I always have a staple cereal and a dessert cereal, and I will usually have 2 bowls in the morning. One of the one that's good for me, and one that just makes me happy.
Mhm.
And it's usually the Honey Nut Cheerios followed by either a Cocoa Puffs or a Cinnamon Toast Crunch. But yeah, I should get Frosted Mini Wheats back into my my rotation. Have you ever had the non-mini version of a Frosted?
They're
Oh,
too
yeah.
large.
And they came in those like packets.
They're
Yeah.
too big.
I used to love those things. They had spoon-sized Frosted Mini Wheats too.
Mhm.
Sort of like 2 mini wheats stuck together in terms of size.
Yeah, I always appreciated when there was an industrial accident and I would get a gigantic mini wheat. But then when I got a box that was oops all huge mini wheats, I was like, this is too much. I can't abide by this. So yeah, I would say check out Cereal Eats. It's a really good set of videos. I recommend the Peeps cereal review. Did you know Peeps?
Peeps cereal.
Yeah.
Just everybody's making cereal these days.
The Peeps cereal review is very good. There's a cinnamon, cream-filled cereal from, Pillsbury that was also a very good review. And the Eggo waffle cereal.
Time out. Jolly Rancher cereal.
Yeah.
Can we please? There's got to be a line somewhere.
We've reached max cereal.
Well, just earlier today, when I tried the Dunkin' cereal, my family also, because I showed them these videos, and they thought it'd be funny to make Gino eat some cereals that are weird. So I had the Dunkin' cereal, the caramel macchiato, and they got funfetti.
Well, I mean, that's a good flavor. I like it in cake.
I'm into that, actually.
Yeah, so there's a funfetti cereal. It's okay. It tastes like funfetti for the most part. It tastes like lightly funfettied Kix.
That's pretty good. I'd take that.
Yeah, it's not the worst cereal I've ever had, but it's not outstanding. So yeah, check that out. Check out Cereal Eats. I'm also, just a little bit of news, I'm going to be on Feminist Frequency this week for their Moderation for Friendlier, their Good Tips for Hard Times series that they're doing. The Games and Online Harassment Hotlines, Good Tips for Hard Times. And it'll be twitch.tv/femfreak, FEMFREQ, at 10 a.m. Pacific time on Thursday. And I will be talking to Kashana Gray about moderation and forum moderation, helping out on a video game website, stream moderation, all sorts of topics like that. So if you are interested in any sort of topic like that, community building, tune in. It should be a good time. I am looking forward to the discussion. And if you want to know how some of that moderation stuff works, like how we make decisions, how you come up with rules, or what sorts of rules are important, or how you might moderate a site, check it out. Without further ado, now I believe it is time to turn our attention to the case at hand, the horrible case of co-ed ladies hanging out at a unremarkable home, except it's haunted with vampires.
And 80s fashion.
And music videos. It's time for Night Trap. Em, you did this to us. What's Night Trap?
Night Trap is a 1992 FMV game where you are a special agent for an unfortunately named government organization.
Say the name.
It's SCAT. Scat.
Oh, you mean the Special Control Attack Team?
Yes, that's it. You are a Special Control Attack Team member. You are trying to prevent vampire, fangless vampires who look like they're wearing trash bags from attacking these girls who are trying to have a sleepover at their strange family friend's house. And you are basically sitting at your console watching surveillance videos. And you have control of the trap system that is in the house for some reason. And the gameplay basically consists of flipping between 8 different viewports and trying to trap these vampires as they move past traps that you can trigger.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the whole thing.
So you're basically taking control of the security system that has been installed in this vampire house, because originally the vampires would catch young ladies with the traps, but you've seized control of their security system and you're turning it against them.
Mm-hmm.
Would you all like a bonus, not at all fun fact?
Yes.
Yes.
The original idea for SWAT was actually the Special Weapons Attack Team. Unfortunately, cooler heads prevailed and told the guy who came up with it that no, you couldn't possibly call a civilian law enforcement force, the Special Weapons Attack Team.
So,
Yeah.
So what does SWAT stand for now?
Special Weapons and Tactics.
That's not that much better, but I guess it's a little better.
It's only slightly better on the optics.
So let's start discussing Night Trap by discussing the actual game itself, because there's an entire sub-story that, for listeners who are not familiar with Night Trap, it is responsible for the ESRB's creation, and we can get into how that happened. Or it's partially responsible. It plus Mortal Kombat, like ZP's email said. They combined to make the Senate very scared. But let's start with what the actual gameplay is. So we're flipping around between 8 different cameras, and there are scenes playing out in 8 of these different rooms. There's like a bedroom, a hallway, a bathroom, outside, living room, kitchen, family, an entrance hallway?
Yeah,
and like a side hallway. And you're flipping between these different security feeds, and there's just a trap button, basically. And if an AUG, which are these trash bag vampires, walks on top of one of the traps and you hit the trap button at the right time, they will be, whoosh, trapped. They'll fall through a hole in the floor, they'll get knocked through a hole in the wall, they'll get trapped in like some sort of plexiglass box and vaporized. And you're basically scanning around each of these different rooms, trying to find the AUGs and hit the button when they step on the trap. However, the main thrust of the game seems to be watching these co-eds and following the acting of the actors. The problem, and maybe you found this as well, is that, or at least that I found, was that the game wants you to trap the AUGs. And they play, like the scenes with the AUGs just play on loop in different rooms fairly regularly. But the interesting parts of the game are watching the people talking and acting.
Basically, in order to successfully complete the game, you need to trap all the augers with 100 possible captures. If you do not capture, I believe, like 15 of them, you get a game over. And so in order to actually watch, like, scenes, you have to ignore, like, motion in some other section of the house, which means that you will possibly lose the game because too many got past you while you were watching the actual events of the story play out. And one other element that you need to keep track of is like the security code will change at certain points. And so in order to keep track of what you need to make it, like it's a color, there's 6 different options. You need to be watching these active scenes, and the characters will be like, go change the security code to red. And then you need to wait for them to go into the basement, and then you change your security code so that you don't get locked out. And if you are too busy, like, trying to follow around what's going on elsewhere in the house, you will miss that, and then you will miss even more stuff. So there's, like, only one real thing you need to watch any of the people for. But if you don't know to look for that, then you will just get screwed. Yeah.
This game, you need to follow whenever the vampire characters, and there's some characters that vary, like the very first scene that the game starts on is you seeing that one of these characters is a vampire. One of the girls is not what she appears. And you basically need to follow them whenever they are on screen, because they might say, we need to change the security code. The traps aren't working. Change it to green. And
there's a very obvious, like, recorded at a different time element to whenever they do that.
Yeah, because that's the only random part of this game is what color you need to be set to. So other than seeing those like 3 or 4 scenes, you're basically jumping around trying to catch as many AUGs as possible. Did you find this gameplay compelling in any way? Either of you?
No.
Nope.
No.
Did you find trapping any of the Augs fun? Like the scenes that happen when you trap them?
Some of them are cute, but like there's one where as they're wandering around the bedroom, they'll like look in the closet and then the closet like pushes them onto the bed and the bed flips them out. I like doing that one. I like the one in the hallway where like the walls go out and then they just get dropped down we don't know where they go.
No.
It's assumed that it's going to like a basement, which is where they like presumably drain the human's blood. But we never actually see that room. We just see characters go down there sometimes. And if they're human, they usually get freaked out and run back and then tell you all about it. But there is no scene down there. So
There's an endearingly Scooby-Doo-ish quality to the traps. Yeah. Like bookcases revolve, like false trap doors open. But I mean, you have to do 100 of these things.
Yeah.
What would be more unsettling, that the Augs are escaping after you trap them, or that there are 100 different Augs wandering around this house?
I assume they were getting free somehow, which is the only way I can reconcile how many there are, because otherwise this is just, you should not be in this house at all. Like, there's too many vampires, just go home.
There's so many trash bag men wandering around this neighborhood. How does no one notice?
I mean, they are wearing black trash bags at night, so...
One person notices.
It's true. It's true, one person does. Yeah, my personal favorite of the traps is the roof trap.
Oh, yeah.
Just flings yeah, it's just a spring. You just throw them off the fucking roof.
I didn't realize that sometimes that trap would, they would be out there. So I'd never looked outside. And then I would be like, why am I missing so many guys? And then once I just happened to be flipping through all of them and I ended up outside, I was like, oh, there's a guy up there. Oh, man, that's why I've been losing all this time. And so then I added that to my rotation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to tell. That's the darkest environment, so it's the hardest one to tell when there's movement.
Yeah. It's worth noting that the actual, seeing the video footage of, all of the areas wasn't in the base game, because that would be ridiculous to program in 1980-something when this was first made. So that is a new feature for the 25th anniversary, is this, you can live feed of all of the different rooms, which makes it a lot easier to keep track of, rather than having to, manually flip through everything. So, good on them for that, at least.
Yes, and the UI having, point and click is much more useful than having to mouse through all of these different things with the controller. So, given that it's so hard to actually focus on what the hell is happening in the storyline, can you assemble what you thought the plot was, what was going on, and any scenes that jumped out to you, you were actually able to watch enough to know what the hell was happening?
I mean, I was trying to figure out Sunglasses Kid for the longest time. There's one character he's like a family friend of some sort. He lives in the house or knows these people, and he always wears sunglasses despite the game taking place entirely at night. So he's either super cool or very weird, and I spent a lot of time trying to figure that out and why he's so obsessed with this one girl in the house.
It's implied that she looks like someone, I believe.
It's not implied. He says, you need to get out of this house.
It's some of the worst dialogue I think I've ever heard.
Yeah, he's a vampire, so he's wearing sunglasses to disguise that he's a vampire. And he's like, you need to get out of this house, Miriam. I don't remember her name. You need to get out of here. Why are you telling me this? because you remind me of someone I loved long ago, but that was not to be. That could never be. Trapping that dude is one of the best traps. Drop him down the stairs. And we're there. Do you... What the hell's going on with the dude outside who gives the kid a laser gun?
Yeah, I was...
Oh, man.
Here's what I gathered. The scat team keeps trying to get into the house and stop whatever vampire plot is going on. The vampires have left for the night and left their son and his cousin in charge, and you are basically messing everything up for them because they are oh yeah, we can handle this. And at some point they just get overrun, the attack team, and there's a gunfight outside. The vampires come back home and they're oh yeah, let's reveal our whole plan. And then that's about it. That's all I got. It's very hard to follow.
That's basically all of it. I mean, the neighbor's just creepy Chet. I mean, his name's not Chet. I forget what it is.
Eddie.
Creepy Eddie. So he knows they're vampires. But, I mean, in true horror movie fashion, and because his name's Creepy Eddie, no one will believe him.
But he invents a laser gun and gives it to one of the girl's little brother. And
no explanation.
Is that how he got that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I never actually saw that scene where he here, this is the thing.
Because how you kill him.
Yeah, I was too busy fucking bouncing around channels. So he just showed up with a fucking laser gun.
Yes.
I was sure, why not?
And it's not as if, in another scene, he's oh, by the way, I'm an incredible physicist at MIT or something. No, he has a laser.
Yeah, and that kid has that laser for maybe 2 minutes, and then he gets chased out of the house. For a while there, I wasn't sure if I was actually saving anyone, because whenever they would have an encounter with the Augs, I would capture the Aug, but then the person would jump out the window, and then they'd never be seen again. So I wasn't sure if I was actually doing a good job or not. And apparently I was. Apparently they, that means that they're saved. They were able to escape. But I thought that they were supposed to show up because the plot would matter in any way. But no, it doesn't. Not even a little bit.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know how the actual scripting of this game works, because there's a possibility that you, miss certain triggers, and then maybe someone dies, and then is there a deviation in the plot that happens after that? The scene plays out and one person isn't there? Do we have any idea about how that works?
Yeah, so any of the plot-centric people dying, it's just a game over.
Right.
They'll just unplug you. The girl who sings the Night Trap song. We need to discuss the Night Trap song at some point.
We will.
If she dies, you get a game over.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the girls, after they have their encounter with the Aug, if they got, they just... It's the same thing as if they escape. Like I said, even when you save them, they just jump out a window instead of being dragged out the window.
Gotcha. Huh. Yeah, the one I always got stuck on was the very first one, which is the infamous nightgown scene, which we're going to talk about more.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, we have to talk about the shower scene, right?
Do we want to talk about this now? Do we want to get into it?
Well, before we do that, there's a frickin' music video in this game.
Yeah.
They paid and produced a song. Night Trap. Da, 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 Night Trap. It's a bop.
It's a really good song.
It's maybe the best part of this game. And if you watch the scene where they're singing it for too long, you will get a game over, because there are so many Augs that are running around during that scene that if you just watch it from start to finish, because it's a 2-minute song, all the girls get involved. You just kind of lose, which is a bummer.
Yeah. In order to they paid a lot of money for this game, total. I think it was $1.5 million to produce this game. Yeah. Oh, I have it right here. Night Trap was ready for the launch of the Nemo, which is the some acronym for this system that involves a VHS tape. Night Trap was ready for the launch of the Nemo in 1989 alongside another interactive movie, Sewer Shark. Both games had a combined budget of about US $4.5 million. 1.5 for Night Trap,
Crazy.
$3 million for Sewer Shark, making them two of the most expensive video games of the era.
Yeah, because they had to build a set. They hired Dana Plato. Like,
They
they had a
had to-
real producer.
Yeah, they had to build a set, produce a branching story that I honestly can't wrap my head around how this was stored on one VHS tape. We have
It wasn't.
we have videos in the Discord that try to explain like how this functioned. I do not understand it.
Yeah, so the way that it worked was basically there were 4 VHSs that were plugged in at the same time. So there were up to 4 reels that could be available at any given time, which meant that even though there are 8 rooms, only 4 are ever active at once. The other rooms will just be still images.
Gotcha.
And so if you mouse through, you'll get a still image for, half of them, and then the other half will have the video playing. And so those 4 reels would be playing simultaneously, and you would, you hit the button and it will fire the trap or not. Like, this was a pretty complicated piece of technology, honestly, especially for the time. And it was sold as like a way to get VHS tapes into video game space, like getting a VHS player to become a video game console. And most of the money that went to Night Trap and Sewer Shark were from like the VHS manufacturers.
Right.
They saw this burgeoning video game market with Nintendo and everything, and they just wanted in. And so regardless of how ill-advised that might have been, they thought that the graphical quality that they could do with a VHS was significantly better than what an NES could do. So they thought they could strong-arm their way in that way.
Yep.
And it's amazing that the technology behind this game is way more interesting than the game.
Yeah. The reason it actually didn't ever go to market in 1989 when it was ready is because the hardware that it would take to actually produce this cost like $600, and it was not feasible when they were competing with the NES, which was around $100 in 1989 money. So they were like, nah, that's not going to happen. And then the only reason it came out is because Sega CD came out 5 years later, and they were able to put it onto a CD-ROM instead. So it's interesting history. The reason I bring up the budget is because they spent most of their $1.5 million on the music video that happens about 10 minutes into the whole thing. And in order to actually watch that music video, you have to lose the game, which is wild.
Look, you need to suffer for your art.
I guess so.
So yeah, I think that kind of brings us nicely to the Sega CD and how that kind of exposed this game to a new audience. Because when it was on the Nemo, the audience was so small, and VHS players were not marketed at kids directly. Like, they were more generic, and the Nemo was such a specific device that I don't think you could make the argument that you were marketing it specifically to children. But the Sega CD and the Sega systems were a little bit more targeted at a younger demographic. And so once that targeting happened, this game became ripe for demagoguing, and so did Mortal Kombat. And that shower scene is kind of the scene that was always clipped out of this game to show, oh my god, they're showing your kids this sick filth. So the scene in question involves a woman in a nightgown just getting ready for sleeping, and there's a creepy Og in the shower behind her, just kind of gyrating in the background like they do.
Yep.
And then she gets ambushed by Ogs, and if you don't save her, they put the Og collar thing around her neck, and then they drill into her neck and extract her blood.
Can we talk about that thing for a second too?
Yes.
So the Augs, they're vampires. They need blood to survive, but the whatever review board that they had at the time.
So this was made with Hasbro. So Hasbro had a bunch of policies.
Yeah.
As a toy company.
Hasbro did not want what they called, putting it in quotes, replicatable violence, which is you can't stab someone with a knife because then kids will see that and they will think that they can like stab people with knives. So they wanted something that couldn't be duplicated. The original concept for this game was supposed to be about ninjas, but the Hasbro review board was like, no, you can't have ninjas because they use stuff like throwing stars, and what if kids started throwing ninja stars around?
What if?
It'd be an epidemic.
I know, right? And so they had to they couldn't have the Augs biting people because then kids will bite people. So they had to make this weird drill thing that is like a collar that they put around a person's neck and then drain their blood, which is so much weirder than just biting the person. It was supposed to look unrealistic to mitigate the violence, and then it just made it even stranger. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, when I was watching the documentary and it was saying, so we actually kind of fell ass backwards into this because with the best of intentions, we tried to take out the replicable violence. But by doing that and by going further afield, now we've got these weird garbage bag men waddling around with these weird devices and posting up in in a shower and doing weird stuff like that. The drill bit going into someone's neck and extracting their blood in many ways is much creepier and more unsettling than if they had just dragged them away or bit them. All of the stuff that folklore has kind of conditioned us to expect, it desensitizes you to that to some degree. When you have to come up with novel forms of horror, it can make it more unsettling. And I think that the scene where the dude who is a member of SCAT who gets captured, I think him being strung up with a bunch of tubes coming out of him and his blood going into a bunch of wine bottles is way more unsettling than if he just got bit and dragged off screen.
Yeah, it's very weird. And then they have blood popsicles that the house guests end up eating by accident.
Yes.
What do they?
Yeah. So at the very
actually
beginning,
see
they
this.
pull these things out of the freezer, and they ask the green-eyed vampire girl, what are these? She's like, oh, they're just popsicles, and then they eat them later, and obviously it's blood.
Oh no.
She's like, this tastes like blood. Yeah.
Spooky.
And these spaghettis feels like brains.
Oh no. Yeah, so the scene basically got supercut onto a bunch of congressional hearings, and you can actually watch a documentary that comes with the 25th anniversary edition that tells you, it documents the story of Night Trap going from this kind of hokey thing that wasn't selling very well because the game's not very good, to all of a sudden becoming a gigantic cultural flashpoint where a bunch of conservative Democrats and conservative Republicans got together to take swings at the video game industry to show how tough they were on this industry that's rotting your children's brains.
Imagine if they had the Manhunt game back then. It would have been like Raiders of the Lost Ark. People's heads just would have melted.
Yeah, if they had Postal.
Where was Doom out at this point? When did Doom come out?
Think 91, 92. Let me check. Doom original game, 1993. Okay,
so
right around this
it's
time.
Just after this, they probably didn't notice it yet. But that was also pretty violent for video games at the time.
Yeah,
I don't
it
know
was out
how
on
they.
the PC.
Yeah, it's one of the first.
Who played games on their computer? No one.
Nobody.
I didn't even know you could.
Yeah, not until Pajama Sam did anyone play video games on their computer. But yeah, the congressional hearings were absurd. The documentary does a great job of showing, like, someone asked Joe Lieberman, hey, did you ever play Night Trap? And he's like, no, I don't need to play that smut.
I don't have to.
Because it's smut. It's
Mhm.
like, how would you know if you didn't play it? I don't need to.
I've never even seen my wife's nightgown.
Lieberman, who admitted never playing the game, claimed Night Trap featured gratuitous violence and promoted sexual aggression against women.
Which
Yeah.
is just not true. We played the whole game. Like, there's aggression because they're vampires attacking people, but it's not sexual unless you're into some stuff I'm not familiar with, some very specific fetish stuff. I don't know what's sexual about it. I mean, that woman's wearing a nightgown because it's nighttime. I guess that's enough.
You know what happens at night?
Traps.
Vampire attacks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gotta watch out for the traps. I mean, yeah. And there was another great thing for the documentary where one of the producers of Night Trap flew out to Washington, D.C. to testify.
Mm-hmm.
And that he was told after he got there, actually, we won't need your testimony. Sorry that you made this trip out here. And then the hearings continued. And one of the senators in his speech said, like, it's a shame that the producer of Night Trap wouldn't grace us with his presence for this very important hearing. And he was just, like, in the crowd. And he's like, hey,
waving.
I'm here. And he's like, well, order.
You're
No
out
one's
of
allowed
order.
to speak. Yep, basically.
Whole court's out of order.
Contempt of court.
Yeah, so, like, the outcome of these hearings, which were a complete show trial, was the ESRB was created. Basically, the video game industry decided we don't want the U.S. government monkeying around in our business. We will rate our own games. We will regulate ourselves. And that kind of created the ESRB that we know today. Which I think is a net positive on games, actually.
Yeah, I generally support a rating system. You know, if parents want to be involved in this, they should have a tool to do so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, I think overall it's left us much more open to, like, weird games like, what was the one we mentioned earlier? Manhunt.
Yeah.
That is a weird game.
So now we can have that, and also Toki Doki Literature Club, and what are some other weird fetish games? Like,
What's that, pigeon dating sim? I wouldn't. If I had a son, I wouldn't allow him to play that.
Leisure Suit Larry.
Yeah.
That game exists.
CP can have his Necopara now.
Conker's Bad Fur Day. If you want to do another blast from the past.
Fuck.
See, all these great games that we wouldn't have had otherwise.
Masterpieces all.
You know, we need to find an AO game that isn't hot garbage. There's got to be one, right?
Sheesh. I don't have no idea.
Statistically, there should be.
I mean, the thing is, no AO-rated game has ever been given a budget because as soon as you're rated AO, most major big box retailers won't even carry you.
Yeah. Like,
So,
but that's after the game is made, you get rated. So somewhere out there must be some, I don't know.
a good AO game?
Yeah.
Are there any, like, are there director's cut games? You know how they have, like, unrated editions of movies? Is there an equivalent for games?
I've not seen one. Okay, wow. The Wikipedia page for AO games is very short. There's not very many. Okay, so Grand Theft Auto San Andreas is the only mass-released AO game ever.
That's a good one.
That's a good game. But yeah, the rest of the list is like all nude cyber, all nude glamour, all nude Nikki body language, critical point. Let's say cyber photographer.
That's a good one.
Elf. Oh, Fahrenheit Indigo Prophecy director's cut. There is a director's cut game in here.
Okay, they exist.
Hatred, The Joy of Sex, the game. Leisure
The
Suit
Joy
Larry.
of Sex, the game?
The Joy of Sex is a 1993 game, which is the first game to receive the AO rating.
Really?
Yep. Leisure Suit Larry, Magna Cum Laude, Uncut and Uncensored.
These are great titles.
Lula 3D, Manhunt 2, Peak Entertainment Casinos. Why is this AO? Gambling. Okay, fair enough. Playboy, The Mansion, Private Party. Playboy Screensaver, The Women of Playboy.
It's just a screensaver? That's not even a game.
Watch out for that one.
Mature sexual themes.
Rihanna Rouge, Seduce Me, Sexy Games, Singles. No, those are two different games, for the record. Sexy Games, one game, and then second game, Singles. Snowdrop, Thrill Kill, canceled, 1998, never came out. Tokimeki Check-In, Water Closet, The Forbidden Chamber.
Just a bathroom game?
Wet, colon, The Sexy Empire. And Exchange.
What? Did they, discontinue this AO rating?
No, it's just, there's no money in it.
I guess.
No, yeah, there's one from 2015. Hatred, I guess, is the most recent.
Yeah, that was a topic of discussion 5 years ago. It was just like a nihilistic, just go out and kill people game.
He wants to begin a genocide crusade.
Jesus.
Yeah, it wasn't a good thing. But yeah, games just don't do it. There's no reason to release these games. They won't sell. Most places won't carry them. So you kind of have to go straight to the audience, right? You need to go on PC or a less regulated marketplace. You won't be allowed on most consoles either. So it has to be on PC. And once you're there, there's a bunch of games that are on Steam that I don't think even get ratings anymore because they come in through the Steam. What is the name of their system for getting
Greenlight?
Yeah, it's coming through Greenlight and other Steam backdoors. So I'm sure there's a bunch of weird stuff that's unrated, but it just ends up unrated. Yeah, so that's kind of the legacy of Night Trap, is this weird category of games and the rating system in general, which I think has been useful more often than not, at least in terms of guiding parents in the right direction. So any final thoughts about Night Trap? This game sucks.
Yeah,
it's not good.
It's
bad.
It's more of a movie that gets in the way of itself than a video game, I found. It actively prevents you from watching the movie if you want to actually play it, which is wild for both a video game and a movie. It's kind of this middle ground where it doesn't do either right. It's fascinating for its context.
Honestly, the thing that upset me the most was that M said what the budget was.
Yeah.
And I find that the most disturbing part of this whole game.
That's also in 1989 money, so...
So it's infinite dollars today.
Pretty much.
Calculators don't even go that high.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but some of the the credits on Night Trap are crazy. Dana Plato was an actual actress who had a pretty big career at that point. I believe the producer of this game, one of the actual camera guys and production guys, went on to do Castaway. And
it was the director, movies. I think. Whoever was in charge of the film did a whole bunch of really huge movies afterwards, like Forrest Gump, stuff like that. I'm trying to find his name. I know we mentioned it in the Discord.
Don Burgess.
Yes.
Director of photography was Don Burgess, who you might know from, like you just said, Forrest Gump, Richie Rich, What Lies Beneath, Spider-Man, Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, 13 Going on 30, Polar Express, like a bunch of movies. Still working. Muppets Most Wanted. Most recent movies, Aquaman.
Damn.
Yeah, so like real professionals worked on this and made this. Like all of the talent for filming, given the challenges that they had to keep track of eight different rooms worth of chronology. They had to film some of this stuff on location. Some of it was filmed in sets. They had to keep all of the actors, wardrobe and motivations in line. Like this stuff largely works. The fact that it works at all is kind of staggering. Like we can talk about how it really hurts the gameplay, but as like a directorial challenge, this game is pretty impressive. What they were able to get out of the actors, that they were able to get this to be discernible at all, with all of the pressures from Hasbro as well, for what the story had to be. Like, good on all of the production people. They are true champions, and they deserve all of the controversy money that they generated.
Mm-hmm. And from what they said in the interviews, apparently they had a great time, like, doing it. Like, it was a little confusing at first for like what the actors were supposed to be doing, and then they saw like this weird 8-track timeline that I believe that was made by Rob Fulop.
Yeah, the director.
Yeah, they were like, oh, so then I go from this room into this room, and then we're gonna switch over, and it like leads into it. And so by the end of it, they were filming for like 6 weeks. They were like, oh, it's pretty neat. They described it as like going to camp, I believe. So, and then they didn't think anything of it. And then all of a sudden it was the subject of a massive congressional hearing.
I could only imagine like this hokey thing that everyone who's working on it knows is very hokey, and they probably don't even expect it to do well. And then all of a sudden it's national news.
Yep.
Super weird. It'd be like if like the makers of Zombievers were called in for a congressional hearing on Obscenity. It's an obscene movie, but it's moronic.
Yeah, it'd be like calling in the people from Super Troopers. Like, look, these people are smoking weed in this movie. We can't have that. Kids might watch this.
They might taste these snozberries.
This Willy Wonka is ruining kids' brains, thinking that they're going to find a golden ticket in their candies. Life is about hard work, kids. There's no golden ticket out of here. Unless you're born with wealth. Wait. Nope. All right. So I think that's it for Night Trap, which means that it is now my turn once again.
Let's run it back.
Night Trap 2!
I want to remake Night Trap.
No, I wish. So I figured we're pretty far into the year, and we've always given ZP one game because
it's time.
He's gone into the trenches. He's played a lot of Final Fantasies.
Loyal listener, and sometimes co-host. And he had a game that he wanted us to play, and I'm going to use my pick to pick it. Divinity: Dragon Commander is the game that ZP wanted us to play. Sounds like a game.
Yeah, that's certainly a name. There's some sort of elves, it would appear. The description of the game says, let's see the store page. What's the description of this game? You are the Dragon Commander. Your mission is to reunite a broken empire and become the new emperor. Success depends entirely on your ability to efficiently rule your empire, build invincible armies, and lead them to victory. So it's kind of a strategy game, but it also seems like you fly around dragons.
Okay, yeah, it's like a RTS / single player thing. Okay.
Yeah, it's like Civilization, but dragons, it would appear.
Is this related at all to Divinity Original Sin, that series?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe it is a spin-off.
Gotcha.
So yeah, next up we will be playing Divinity Dragon Commander. This is a little bit out of our wheelhouse. We don't usually play strategy games, but I'm looking forward to seeing these dragons shoot up some little houses or something. So, thank you. Pete?
Yeah, this was an interesting experience. I'd suggest our listeners go elsewhere for their vampire content needs, though.
Yes. Thank you, Em?
Stay tuned for my remake of Night Trap. It's going to be gritty, real. It's going to have twice as much sexual content.
All the violence will be imitatable.
Yeah, we're going to put it on. You remember that Netflix had a choose your own adventure thing? It's going to be like that.
Yeah.
Keep an eye out.
Nothing but bare butts and slitting throats.
Yeah, I'm patenting it right now. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you, listeners. Just a reminder, you can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We've got our comment sections and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. You can also support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. Till next time, peace.